Adventure vans, they are built to get you into those hard to reach places like this little gem we found in the National Forest. Not a soul in sight, along the river. Couldn't ask for a better spot. We've added 3 OWL products to our van that have made our life just a little bit easier. The side ladder, the tire carrier, and the monster box. As you can see by my attire, I have actually 3 layers on. It's a little bit too cold to go into the water, so we'll definitely have to check this out during the summertime. You have found Explore Trek Adventure with Kelly and Greg. We cover everything camping from backpacking to adventure vans. It doesn't matter what company you're buying these accessories from, they're expensive. You don't have to buy them all at once. We actually purchased ours in stages. For reference, we have a 2023 Winnebago Revel, but these should fit most sprinters. But double check your year because they do have different model types.
One of the first things we bought for our van was these traction boards, and we were storing them inside in the garage, and it was a serious pain in the butt. It took up a huge amount of room. So this monster box was the first thing we added. Ordering a box for your van can be a little bit confusing because when you order the box itself, there's no way to mount it to your van. You have to order a mount with it too. If you're buying an OWL product, this is the B2 carrier, and we chose that one. They also have another one called the Sherpa, which kind of looks like a big plate. That one doesn't hold as much weight. This B2 carrier, you can kind of see it sticks out over the top, and then the box attaches to this B2 carrier. You can find all different size boxes. We ended up going with the biggest box we could find because we knew we needed the most outdoor storage. This thing is 40 by 24 by 16. It is huge. We actually thought it looked a little bit funny on some of the vans that we've seen, but now we actually really like it. You have to also choose where you're mounting it on your B2 carrier, and we mounted ours a little bit higher. We think it looks a little nicer. This box has extra plate on the bottom and on the top, and it has these grooves and the circles, and you can get little mounts to mount stuff in here. I've seen some people like mount a shovel on the one side. One thing you gotta be careful is you can't mount something that spans both areas because it opens like a clam. This box has 2 locking clamps here, one on each side. They fold out like that. But one thing to note is there's a lock on this side for this lock. They're independent, and another lock over here. There is an extra spot right here, so when you close it, you can stick a padlock in for extra security. When it comes to install, it's actually a fairly easy process. Give yourself a couple hours, but you definitely need 2 people, or you need some kind of lift to get it into place because it's heavy. You'll bolt it right to the hinge up here and here, but the hard part is this center connection. You actually have to drill a hole in your van, which is super nerve-wracking. It's actually not terrible because they give you a little leeway, but you still have to drill a big old fat hole in your van. One of the downfalls of this setup is you can see that this connection point is kind of in the middle, or at least offset in towards the middle of the door. It's not holding any weight, that all the weight is on the hinges, but it's still that connection point. This whole door setup becomes extremely heavy, and if it slams, we've seen some doors basically get pushed in right here. So just be mindful when you're closing the door. I grab it like this and kind of guide it in. Right now we are carrying a little tiny propane bottle on the inside, which I hate. So I think what we're going to end up doing is mounting it up here. I've seen a couple different mounts that we can mount it to that top bracket. There are some people, and I think OWL actually makes one, is there's like an extra kind of a little outer box that goes around that pits up there, and people will put firewood and stuff like that up there. Let me show you what we keep inside. The nice thing is this upper top is on struts. Although, watch out, it's very heavy, and when it comes down, it wants to close on itself real easily. In here, there's a little pull latch. Pull it up, and then the bottom flips out. Bonus feature of this monster box is the way it opens, because this bottom part leaves you with basically a place to work. So say you're taking stuff out, instead of having to sit it all into the ground, you actually have a place to work. Say you're stopping for a few minutes, needed a place to cook, you actually have a place you can do it without having to do it on the ground. All of this stuff used to be crammed in the back of the van, and now it's not. Starting on this side, we have a siphon hose. This bag here has all of our kinetic ropes and our shackles. In the back here is a torque wrench if we have to do any work on the van. We have a shovel, and we have our rake. And normally, we keep our Go treads, those guys there. We keep those stacked in here and here, and then this fire can sits on top. And this is our little stove, and then this is an outdoor table. Now if we look on top, this is the hose that we can use to drain our gray water. This is our fresh water fill. In this bag here, it's actually a battery charger in case we need to charge the actually car battery. Some extra bags. We have our Milwaukee chainsaw in the back. That's the little hatchet one. We have some stuff for the cassette toilet and some stuff for the chainsaw. We do keep a bunch of stuff in here, but I think we could actually fit some more and make it easier to get to if we had better organization. If you have some ideas that don't cost a gazillion dollars, we've seen some bag systems in there that are quite expensive. I think we can do something different, whether we do bags or some kind of containers. I have 2 warnings for you about this box, and it kind of applies to most boxes, but this middle shelf, it attaches and there are some bolts in the bottom that you have to kind of to tighten up. They're very difficult to tighten up, and the last weekend when we were out in the van, we accidentally kind of jumped the van, and we didn't actually jump it, but we hit a big old divot and we were going way too fast in the back of the van. It totally hopped off the ground. Well, this whole shelf came completely detached and then fell down and was resting on everything in here. Just be super careful with that. Get that thing bolted in there as tight as you can. The second problem is how these latches here. And if you watch, you can see this whole mechanism comes down. It's not protected right here. You're cruising down the road and something gets dislodged and jammed right in this section here. You're gonna no longer be able to open your box. So just make super sure when you close that these 2 sections remain clear, and anything up here, if it were to become dislodged, can't get stuck in that lock. Because if this really does get stuck and you're not able to open it, there's no easy way to get in this thing. I actually don't know how you would do it. Somebody mentioned that theirs got stuck on one of the forums, and the solution was to take it over some speed bumps really fast so everything goes goes flying up.
After the monster box, we ended up getting the Expedition tire carrier. Why did we do that? Well, we went from 245s to 275s, and there was an issue. The 275s do not fit underneath where the spare tires go. So we had to find some place to put our spare. This installation was a little bit easier since we've already drilled in the van once with the monster box, so drilling into it again was not as nerve-wracking. There's a few things I really like about this tire carrier. One is it sits up high enough so the license plate is still visible. And of course, your spare tire is right here. You're off-roading and get a flat, you can easily get your tire. Of course, it is extremely heavy and it took 2 of us to get this on here, but at least we can access it super easy. Now we have a spot for our rear bag. This thing is chucked full of our wood. We can also put our garbage in here if we want to as well. And the funny thing is, we actually got this super cheap, 32 bucks I think, from Napa Auto Parts. We saw some of these bags, not this brand, but a different one at the Adventure Van show, and they were like $3.50. Absolutely ridiculous. It has these nice heavy duty straps, so we're not worried about it ripping off. It's got some side pockets where we actually keep our fuel. We can lock it so we can get to it. It's got some little spots so you can put some carabiners and other mesh pockets right here, and it also has another side pocket on the over here, and these actually has little hooks as well. It's a really big, nice bag. It has one big main buckle. Flip it open and then you can expand it to get into it. The only downfall of this bag is that when it's empty, it does hang down a little bit lower, so it does set off the sensors. We actually ordered this online and it ended up being twice as big as we thought it was gonna be. Absolutely would buy it again. We were thinking about maybe getting another one so we'd have a spare. Just like the monster box, this does make this door heavy, so you got to be super careful not to slam it. They do make another style that has a ladder extension on top of it, but we knew that we wanted to get a side ladder instead.
And this was the primary reason we went with the side ladder. We have easy access to these traction boards up here. We don't have to walk on the top of the van at all to reach the solar panels. We need to clean them off or reach the vents. While I'm up here, let me show you this. They put Explore More right at the top of the van. And when the sun is shining, not like it is right now, you can actually see it displaying on the top of your van. That's actually kind of cool. This van holds plenty of weight. One thing you got to be aware of is, especially right here, this flare sticks out quite a bit. And the treads, your feet can smack into the edge. So just be careful when you're coming up and down. The reason why you really got to be careful with that foot placement is because how they put this ladder on the van, and it's sucked up right close to the van. We looked at a couple other ones there. I think there was an aluminous one we looked at, and when it comes out the bottom, it just sticks out a lot higher or a lot farther away from the van. And when you're off-roading, you're often passing by stumps and trees, rocks. You don't want this thing catching, so as close as this thing can be to the van, the better. The second reason you want a ladder that's tucked up tight is that big flare is already blocking a huge amount of your visibility, especially when you're driving down the road. And having the ladder that doesn't stick out too much farther than the flare, you're not blocking yet more of your vision. This ladder was probably the easiest of the three to install. All we had to do was loosen up this bracket here and slide it down because it was kind of in this spot. So we slid this down. This bracket here then bolts to these roof rails, and then the ladder bolts right here and here. Once you're bolted up there, there are two places down here where you have to drill through the pinch seams of the van. That's actually not too bad. And there are two special aluminum bolts that go through there. And basically what they say is those are aluminum, so if this were to catch on something, those bolts would break away instead of this catching and ripping part of the side of your van off. When you're drilling the hole down through there, try and get the correct size drill bit the first time. We drilled a hole that was a little bit too small, and then we came back with a larger bit. And halfway through, for whatever reason, that drill bit caught. And when it caught, instead of just getting stuck, it completely shattered. I wasn't wearing safety glasses. I'm okay, but just be super careful if you're doing that. One thing they did to save on shipping is they broke this ladder down into two pieces, and they bolt together right here and right here. Speaking of shipping, Owl does have a couple different install locations around at certain cities, but we actually picked up our stuff from a local RV place. They have an upfitter section at that RV dealer, and we just call them up and say, hey, we need this part, and they're like, okay, we'll go get one from the warehouse and bring it over. So if you're looking for stuff and don't want to pay for that extra shipping, check with your local RV dealer. They do give you a strip of adhesive, grippy sandpaper stuff that attaches to the top of each step. It actually makes quite a bit of difference when you're going up and down the ladder. I was actually on the fence of ordering this ladder. I do like how tight it is, but I also don't like how kind of chunky it looked, at least on this bottom section. The top section is just the individual rungs, but when you get down here to this bottom section, these last two steps are quite large, and they have these extra plate that comes down, and it has a couple circles and slots here, and it's the same pattern that they have on the Monster Box. And what I've seen people is attach like roto packs or other things like that to here. The only problem with that is then you're sticking way out. You don't want to rip your fuel packs off when you're on the trail. Overall, we're really impressed with all the Owl products we purchased. They have an extremely good build quality. We didn't have any problems with anything we got. They also have really great how-to install videos that I don't know if we could have done this without them, honestly, but they have very specific, like, you're drilling your hole here. You get to see somebody drill a hole in the van before you do it. That was super helpful. When we were at the last Adventure Van Expo, Owl had a huge semi-trailer, and they had a giant booth where they were all set up. You could see all their stuff. But the best part is they had several guys walking around, and you could ask them anything. And we talked to them about our potential front bumper and how we would go about configuring that. So if you're thinking about getting any of these products and you have the access to go to an Adventure Van Expo, go check them out there.
If you have any questions about the things we talked about today, go ahead and ask us in the comments below. You can go watch this video next. You can find us at explorertrekadventure.com. We'll see you next time.